Good morning, and welcome to Let's Talk Politics Live with your host, Dr. James Dula, and my co host, Mr. John Bailey. Good morning, Mr. Bailey. He's a little slow coming in, but I see him. He's there.
Good morning, sir. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing great. Today we have a great show lined up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have two super people joining us today as guests, and that is Ms. Lisa Williams, who is a political uh, advocate here in Prince George's County, one of the most affluent African American counties in all of the United States of America, as well as Mr. Saquon Mr. Swint, who is a entrepreneur, young entrepreneur on the rise here in Prince George's County. We're certainly looking forward to what he has to say about himself and his business today.
Absolutely.
Oh yes, and today we're going to be talking about the midterm elections that's coming up. We're going to get into a few questions, and we're going to talk to our viewers about their political view and how they determine who they're going to vote for along the way. So it's going to be a good show as we hear different opinions and go from there. So I often think about my history days when I taught history, and let me say this too. I grew up in a household where my father was a World War II veteran who served in the South Pacific during World War II as an African American, real hero to me. And in our household, we always talked about voting and doing and getting out and campaigning and listening to what people had to say and things of that nature. How about you, Mr. Bailey?
Well, that wasn't a prominent subject in my household growing up. However, I have turned the table, and over the past years, as my children have grown up, and all of them are adults now, they were brought into a household that was a little more, a little more engaged in politics. So over the years, we have definitely gotten involved, and they understand the process, and they are all voting, and we do a lot of studying as well. So they understand the process, and so they can teach their children. That's the process. We have to teach one generation after another.
That is so correct because I tell you, if we sit home and in the first place, if we don't participate, someone else is going to make the choices for us.
Yes,
And,
indeed, indeed, yes.
and then it's couch potatoes. It's just like a football game. That quarterback should have thrown the ball, but or should have done something else. Our opinions are they remain on the sofa.
Yeah, yeah. You have to get involved. Some a lot of times people get involved because something happens to them, or it's something really, really prominent on the news. But that shouldn't be the only time that you're involved in the process. We have to understand we are capable of making change with your vote and with your voice. And if all of us do that, we can make some certain changes in our community that will carry on from the decades to come.
During my off time, I often tutor young people on government and politics and communication and things of that nature.
Right.
And one of the things that often comes up is where did our government come from, and how do I,
Mm,
and where do I fit in? Is government necessary? And
right,
when we stop
right.
and think about it, if we as adults are still asking where do I fit in, we've got to go somewhere to get our education.
That's a serious problem. That's a problem.
Yeah. Because a couple of the characteristics of government is, first of all, knowing your territory. We have people that don't know the districts they live in. Many don't even know the midterm elections are coming up in a couple of weeks, and things of that nature. They don't understand it as a person living inside of a defined area that is where you're obligated or where you have the right to vote. They don't understand that these are the things that impact your life. And unless you get involved as a person living inside that district, then this person or that person will always be the ones to make the decisions for you, and you'll be sitting home talking about why is my taxes going up, why is why is my street not being cleaned, not knowing that there are certain divisions between state and local government, things of that nature. So you'll be the one asking the question because you don't know the answers.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to understand. You have to go to the Board of Elections. There are many ways to get educated yourself. Board of Elections, as well as your county website, which you put in your address, and you'll find out who your representatives are, as well as on the Board of Elections, all of the candidates who have filed. All of their information is on there. So you don't have to look far. It's just a couple websites and sit down and do some research so you can educate yourself. Once you educate yourself, you can educate others.
That's so true. And I know that recently you were the president of your association, civic association.
Yes, sir.
And you had a large, very large following, one of the largest followings, I would say, in the state of Maryland. And I applaud you for that. But
Thank
people
you.
respected you because you led with honesty and integrity, and they followed you. The
Yeah.
point is this: you have those that will participate in the civic association and come out and listen to what guests have to say. Guests like your police, your firemen, your political leaders, and things of that nature. And those that are in attendance, those that are active, get answers.
Yes.
Yeah. Those,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. So if you
So that.
don't join those,
Mhm.
you're sitting back home complaining, but the answer is right there in front of you.
It
Get it. Hey,
is
look, what was that we said last week? Ask not what your country can do for you, but get out and do something.
something. Yes.
Something.
Just
Uh,
something. Right.
yeah. Everyone can be great because everybody can contribute something.
Right, right, absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely correct on those things. We have to get involved in the community, and that's one thing that we consistently do to the day because I'm still heavily involved in the community, in the civic association in Camp Springs because that's where I live. Where I lay my head, I want to be safe. I want to know what's going on, not just when something happens, not when the devastation happens. It's a little too late to get involved. But if that's your way, that's fine as long as you get involved. But I have to be educated myself in all of these things. Know who our elected officials are. Know who the department heads are, and know the sections and the districts and everything, because I get asked those questions every day. So I have to educate myself so I can educate all of the residents who come to me, who send me emails daily and phone calls. So as a community leader, these are the things that we have to do, and it's a lonely road. So if you're interested in becoming a community leader, please just get educated and come on out and help out because it takes more than just a few people. We need everyone to be involved.
Yeah. Especially when we head into the midterm elections, because well, like someone once said, is your life better today than it was 4 years ago? And that's really the question that every voter should ask themselves. Is your life better today than it was 4 years ago?
Right.
And if it is, fine. Uh, do your homework. Know who's
Absolutely.
running for office, and then vote on your knowledge. But if you find out that maybe it's not, maybe your community is not better off than it was 4 years previously or 2 years previously, you find out that your personal life is not better off. Well, I would get out and start asking questions of those that are making the decisions. But the key is, as my World War II dad used to say, vote your knowledge. So he would drag me as a young person around to political events. He would introduce me to community leaders. And I'm probably 12, 13, maybe 14 years old. And I'm saying, oh my God, here we go again. Uh, but but as I grew up and became that elder in the community and became that father, uh, I started doing the same things because I really grew tired of hearing people complain, complain. But as I made my rounds to the civic association meetings, to the coffee clubs where they discuss meet the political leaders and hear the platforms and the opinions, as I really began to go to those, I saw the real value of of interacting in your community, not just in your church, not just in your sorority or fraternity, but
Yeah,
also on the political side, because that's where the rubber meets the road.
it does. It does. Absolutely. And we'll get more into that right after these messages. We're going to the break. Thank you.
Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. It's Wild Radio, so you know you're gonna hear it. Whether you like to spit it or you just wanna feel it. Forever indie, baby, and you know we got the spirit. Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Indie media for the indie spirit on Wild Radio.
And we have been talking about during this segment the importance of being involved in your community, so that when the midterm elections come, and we're in that window right now, you will know who you'd like to vote for and why. And we've often said that it's not based on how tall someone is, or how nice their beard might be, or what color their eyes are, and whether they have hair or not. Uh, but it should be based on the facts. If it's not
Absolutely.
based on the facts, you get what you get, and you still go about complaining.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. So true. So if you get involved, you make the decisions. You make the decisions. And if you don't, the decisions will be made for you and your family. So understand that. Understand that.
Okay, great. That's a good comment too, because it's absolutely true. Is Do we have Miss Williams on at this time?
Yes, it's time for our first guest.
Oh, okay. Well, let me introduce our first guest. I call her Wonder Woman. Uh, because I always wonder where she's going to be today. She's all over the place, and there's other people would say she's a bad woman, super bad. So
Indeed, indeed.
this lady is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to politics. We have had long discussions about the environment we live in, and about our philosophy, which oftentimes mirrors one another. It mirrors one another. We think alike. I just asked her, would you please come on the show and let's have a discussion about the upcoming midterm elections, and see where we go. But anyway, welcome aboard, Ms. Williams.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Dr. Dula.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to join you and talk a little bit about politics. That is one of the things that drives me. I really just want to be engaged. As you all were talking earlier about engaging your children. I drug my children around to various events when they were younger. And in fact, I worked on a political campaign in 2006, and my daughters were engaged and they are voters. So it's really important that we pass that along to our children, and get them engaged as adults.
And you're right on point. Mr. Bailey and I have had that conversation many times. And we have talked to our producers, Crystal and Tara. Thank you so very much for producing this show because it
Yeah.
allows us to really get the word out and to spread our message about being involved in politics and beyond, so that we can see the changes that we'd like to see or see the type of communities we live in to become really the types of communities we want to stay in and our children would like to stay and grow in. But you and I had a very pleasant conversation a couple of days ago where we were talking about the role of people and in politics and their responsibility to be involved because a lot of times I don't think they realize they're empowered. And I'm hearing too many times. Have you ever heard that I'm not going to vote because two things? My mama didn't vote, so I'm not going to vote. And number two, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't make a difference anyway. My vote doesn't count.
Yep, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
But
it's just incredible to me. I mean, I'm I'm a political junkie, so I'm reading Maryland Matters and reading about some of the challenges that we've seen in terms of even vote recount. One state delegate race was down to 16 votes between one candidate versus another. So I just don't understand how people are not engaged more and not following this. This impacts their life on a daily basis. And, quite frankly, folks just voting in presidential elections, even and not in their, municipal elections or, the midterm elections, as you all were just talking about. Those hit closer to home in most cases than the presidential election. But how do we get folks engaged?
that's a good point because one of the questions we have this morning is should people wait and only vote on election day? We have a midterm coming up. A big decision is going to be made when it comes to our next governor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we all know that we live in a heavily majority Democratic state. But yet, the last 8 years, the last two terms, we've had a Republican governor. And, and I don't knock that. I don't really take an opinion on this show. But at the same time, we have to look at reality. So if you have a majority Democratic state and you're electing a person from the minority, the Republican in this case, what does that say about the midterm election that's coming up? What should people do to prepare? What is in our history that has made us question where we're at as a majority in this state? And it just really causes me to stop and ponder: are people waiting for someone else to cast a vote for them, or are we seeing a platform that has satisfied us more than our Democratic platforms? What is it? I just don't understand. That's open for discussion.
So I think it's a couple of things. I think, for one, people tend to take it for granted that because Maryland has been a Democratic state, that people, they don't have to get out and get engaged because the Democratic nominee is going to win. The other thing is that, there are some undercurrents that I won't get into here in this discussion, but we need to be mindful of what our societal, what our history is, what our norms are, and factor that into getting out and getting activated and voting. We kind of know what the United States was founded on, so I'll just leave that hint there. I won't get into a whole lot of it, but
Right.
that when we got our Republican governor, he was up against an African American man at the time. So I kind of not touch that too much because I'm very passionate about inequality in the United States. But that's my 2 cents.
Right. So I believe when I hear those statements, I believe that's spoken off of uneducated, a process that folks need to be educated in this. If you watch the news at a minimum, or if you go to the websites and understand the policies and the structures that our candidates are putting forth and what they will do, and look at their history, they will tell you who they are.
Yep.
And in the debates and all of these things that you have to educate yourself on and study, they will tell you what they are going to do. Just look at their history, of what they've done, not what they say all the time, because I do watch what people do. And if they're in the community and they've done things in the past, that's the education that you need to have on making decisions on voting. So if you're not voting, I understand that you're not educated in the voting process and you don't know what the outcomes can be and the changes that you can make with your one vote. And if you're in a family, those votes of 10 to 15 to 20, if you educate your family and your close relatives and your neighbors, we have to educate ourselves through conversations and understand the process. If you're uneducated in voting, there's nothing wrong with that. You can talk to some of the elders who have been through the process over and over again. And I encourage our elders to get out and talk a little more with the younger people, younger generations, so they can be educated on why we are where we are in our society. And it's been a vote. And the way that we're going to change things is through the voting process. If we look 10 to 15, 20 years down the road, we're going to make those changes now. And it is very pivotal in our society, because the midterm elections, the local elections, this is where the people that you can call on and understand, and they will fight for you. And especially understanding that process and then going in 2 years and voting again for the higher or the presidential election. You have to understand this is more important because this touches you every day.
Yep.
These elections, these midterm elections, these local elections.
That is very well said. And Ms. Williams, I'm going to go there just a little bit. I
I knew it.
Well, look, there's some key things that people have to look at, especially in the state of Maryland, where I think we have come a long way in our state. We have a very good social agenda that supports education, that supports platforms against gun violence, that supports platforms against trafficking, and supports teaching our children the truth in history and not critical. We don't get into the critical race theory thing.
Right.
We talk about, let's teach the facts. Let's teach what's real. Let's make sure our children, their eyes are open, that they can see where they've been and where their ancestors have been, so they'll know how to proceed and become all they would like to be in the future. A little Army term there, but I neglect to say Miss Williams is former Navy.
Go Navy.
And I'm Air Force, so let's keep aiming high. But these are phrases and words that people need to listen to, because on one side you have a candidate that is running based on I'm going to say it, Trumpism. Okay, and let's face the Republican Party right now, and I'm not going to advocate one way or another, but I'm just going to tell the facts. The Republican Party is talking about critical race theory. They're talking about privatizing schools, public schools, supports most of the minority and people of color. And they're talking about not advocating against guns, assault weapons. But every time the legislation comes up, it's shot down in a majority controlled avenue, where you have to have a majority of the vote in the Senate. And right now, those are three critical issues in our country. I won't mention abortion as a personal thing right now, so I'm not going to get into that. But that's another issue personally someone might want to look at. Then you look at the other side and say, does their platform include uh, a platform of against trafficking and against assault weapons, against privatizing all the schools and putting more money into the public schools and to the colleges and things of that nature. That's what I call a social agenda. So the key is our voters are going to have to look at those things and determine where they stand, and understand that if they sit at home and they do not get involved, then those issues will continue to move forward without them and without their opinion, because every vote does matter. And we're going to get ready to take another break. Ms. Williams, please stay with us. We look forward to continuing our conversation. Next segment, we're also going to bring in Mr. Swint from our business community. And don't be bashful. Let's speak out. The people need to know the truth, because if they don't know the truth, they'll continue to go through life and wonder why and what happened. We'll be right back.
Absolutely.
OG Media Productions is a visual production company focused on making its clients' visions visible. They provide graphic design, photography, video production, and live streaming. These days, they are looking to work with clients that have vision for their project. Let OG Media take your vision to your audience. Visit their website at www.ogmediaproductions.com and follow them on IG at Team OGMP. They're passionate about putting their skills and innovation to work for you.
Did you know that BWCC is now streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio? Yep, that's right. Go to any of these platforms and search Black Women Connecting Communities. That's Black Women Connecting, CONNEXTING communities. Follow us and add us to your list of favorite podcasts.
Politics with Tula. And this will be our business spotlight. And we have a young man that's no stranger to the community here. It's Saquon Swint. This young
I'm still unable to hear if y'all can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess we're back. I don't hear Mr. Bailey, but that's okay. I will go ahead and let people know that you are a entrepreneur in Prince George's County, and you have your, is it IT company?
No, I actually have my own production company.
Production company. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you tell about yourself, and we'll take it from here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to thank y'all for bringing me on the show and giving me this opportunity. I am Saquon Swin, and what I wanted to come on here and talk about today was actually my nonprofit. That's where I do most of my work in the community. Is with the nonprofit. The name of the nonprofit is called the Minority Tech Foundation. And what we do is our core mission is to provide trending vocational, technical, and media arts training to the minorities and at-risk youth. So we want to go to the schools and we teach the kids graphic design, and we teach them cybersecurity, and we show them how to build drones and fly drones, and we show them 3D printing, and we get them into the entrepreneurial spirit, and mindset. We try to get them young. Our target is middle school, because we want to get them right before they get into high school. That's where they tend to be most responsive. And we just want to relate to them with what they know best, which is media arts, social media, Instagram, Twitter, all the things that exist around the music industry. I'm sorry, everything that exists around the music industry, music videos, editing. These are all things that they are interested in that they just don't have the access to. So our goal and our core is to give these kids the access to this technology and show them how to operate it and maintain it. So that way, by the time they get into high school, they will have the skill set to get into these high-end jobs, that are soon to be coming. In the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a lot of jobs, a lot of manual labor jobs gone due to technology. We see now drones are taking a lot of jobs away. A lot of robotics are replacing humans with these jobs. So if you don't know how to operate this technology or, maintain it, you're going to be out of a job. So with that in mind, and also with our community in mind, we want to build our community so our youth will be able to get into these positions, right? So they can have these conversations. So that way we're not left out, and not trying to get in while it's too late, So, the kids are very responsive to it. They love the drones. The drones, we teach them on standard industry drones. These are the same drones that the aviation are using, Aviation of Maryland, pilots. They actually had to get their drone license using the same drones that we teach the kids how to fly and operate. So it's very powerful. We're partnered. We have a partner that's in the cybersecurity field. He teaches the kids cybersecurity. I want to stress cybersecurity. We stress cybersecurity so much because it's a $1 billion industry, and two, it's a scarce of cybersecurity workers, right? Our country needs cybersecurity workers. If we had enough cybersecurity workers, the recent cyber attack that we had probably would never had happened. So we stress cybersecurity so much because it's over 20 fields. It's over 20, jobs alone just within that field that pays over 6 figures, that start out at 100K, 105K. Right now, Amazon is doing a free training for cybersecurity that we also then had kids in the program, take and do. They're offering a free training to get certified as a practitioner, right? That's entry level certificate. The training is free. It's only $100 to take the certification test. And then you can get a job at Amazon, entry level starting out at 75K. 80K. That's life changing right there. That's for a kid who's a freshman in high school and whose parents are not financially fortunate enough to send them to college. This is a way where they can bring in income for them to go to college, right? Or even if it's a family to where as though they have enough money to send their kids to college, the kids still need money while they're in college. They still need to eat. They still need to get clothes. You know what I'm saying? They still need to get around. right? So these are all resources and tools that not only the kids but the family can also use, to help out in whatever instances, So we really stress that to the kids. We really stress that to the parents, because we want them to know that these are resources that can be taken advantage of and can be benefited from, almost right off the bat.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so so yeah, I mean, cybersecurity, drones. We also teach visual arts, where we bring the kids into an actual film studio where we shoot commercials and stuff and we let them play the role as the videographer. We let them play the role as the director, the producer, and the mediator, just so they can get a feel in these roles. It's a lot of everything we teach and everything we show them it's an open field for, and we need to get more of our youth and our minorities into these fields of work, just to position us right for the future. So that's what the nonprofit is all about. It's all about targeting the youth, relating to them with what they know best, showing them these resources, giving them all these opportunities, and giving them access. It's really about the access, because that's really what they lack, is the access. It's not that they can't do it. It's just that they don't have access to the resources to do it. And even if they do, and most of the time they do have access to it, but they don't know how to, get to the access, So we just want to make the community more aware of the resources that's out here, and we want to show them how to take advantage of these resources as well.
All right, sounds great. I apologize for the technical difficulty, but Saquon, I really appreciate you and what you're doing for our younger people and our youth and building them up to have successful futures. So we're going to put Saquon's information on the screen here for the viewers to see. And this will definitely be on the broadcast when it rebroadcasts on Facebook online. And we certainly appreciate you for coming out, and we wish you much success in your future. And come back and visit us and let us know how things are going at some point.
Okay, yeah.
We appreciate you.
I definitely will. And I appreciate y'all for this opportunity. I know this is a great platform, and I'm just grateful that you guys reached out to me to be on it.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
All right. You too.
All right. Stick on with us.
That was very inspiring. I'm telling you, what they're doing in our community and with our youth is just absolutely outstanding. And I certainly look forward to talking to him more. That's an example of don't ask what your coach can do for you. Get involved and just do it. But I hope that people will contact him, that they will take advantage of the program that he's offering. Listen to what he's talking about. Cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, that is one of the career fields in demand today. Most in demand. Cybersecurity, because people are hacking our systems every day, and they're trying to get to get our secrets and the whole 9 yards. And you know what people don't realize, Ms. Williams, is the fact that cybersecurity is just not government. Corporations have cybersecurity. Businesses have cybersecurity.
Absolutely, and it's definitely a necessity, especially as you mentioned with the hacking going on. I mean, it's Facebook needs it. I've seen lots of folks with their accounts being hacked. As a government contractor in the past, my information has been hacked. My background information has been hacked and released, and as a result, the federal government had to pay a contractor to give me credit reporting, kind of audit type services. So yes, it's critically important. It affects every last one of us.
And that mine has been hacked, I think, 3 times. So finally, I had to. First, I tried to change my my password as my carrier told me to do. I did that, That didn't quite work. And quite naturally, along the way, I notified, and I'm telling all of our viewers to notify the FCC, the FTC, your law enforcement agency, that if hacking happens to you. And I did all those things, and I also had to let people in my contact list know that I had been hacked, so that if they had seen some things from me that did not look like me, to please to eliminate it, disregard it, or let me know, whatever. And So anyway, those are some of the things that you have to do. In the state, when I was working as a commissioner for the governor, one of the things we said is we can never have too many cybersecurity people.
Mhm.
So it touches all areas of our government. Okay, well, I want to thank Mr. Swint for joining us. Ms. Williams, if you have time, we're going to wrap this up. The next segment, you're welcome to join with us, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
All those wonderful times, I can't deny. You got me wrapped around your finger. It was just you and I. All those wonderful times, I can't deny. You got me wrapped around your finger. It was just you and I. All those wonderful times, I can't deny. You got me wrapped around your finger. It was just you and I. All those wonderful times, I can't deny. You got me wrapped around your finger.
You are now tuned into WowURadio.net. Indie media for the indie spirit. Get wrapped up in 24/7 indie music. Wow Radio.
We're back. I'll tell you, Mr. Bailey, this has been absolutely fantastic this morning, as we have talked about why people should vote. We have talked about some of the issues they should look for and be knowledgeable of during the upcoming midterm in a couple of weeks. We haven't really talked about early voting, but early voting will start soon. Make sure they return those ballots as quickly as possible. And we still keep going back to our theme. Don't ask what the country can do for you. Just get involved and do something like Mr. Swint did, our last guest, like you have done as our past Civic Association president, and as Ms. Williams has done by being an active advocate out in the community when it comes to politics and the growth and development of our local area as well as our state. And we have talked about the importance of getting off that sofa and going to vote, whether it's early voting or you go to the poll. But don't wait till election day to make up your mind. Don't wait till you get to the poll and you go through about 1,000 people said, "Oh, vote for my candidate," because that's not education. The key is to make sure that they start early. Now, here's one other issue I would like to bring up. And I know that we'll be going into summary soon, but the point is this. Are debates still effective? You know, when we study our history and we go back to the Lincoln Douglas debate that decided slavery over in the New Frontier, that they had 7 debates. And wow, that was, I'm sure that 7 debates over their district as they ran for Senate was quite a bit in those days. They didn't have the internet, they didn't have text, they didn't have any of that stuff. But now we have all these gadgets here. We know they've been hacked, Ms. Williams. We know that accusations that Russia has hacked our system, that they hacked our voting booths, our polls, and the whole 9 yards. But the point is this. We need to get out and listen to those candidates and hear what they have to say. Now, in Maryland, there's been a debate over debates, okay? And I know that one candidate wants to have several. The other one says, not going to happen. You're going to have one. All right. With all the technology we have today, all the opportunity to get out to listen to the candidates in person, do we need to have all these debates, or is one debate enough that is televised and everybody can tune in to? I'll leave that up to you for discussion.
That's an interesting question. I do think with the advent of technology, and I'm huge, we've had this conversation. I'm all about the social media. I'm all about using what we have. That information is currently available. Um, I think it might be enough to just have one televised debate with, follow on discussion about issues and follow up with constituents about frequently asked questions, for example, something that came up in a debate. And multiple people have asked that. I was actually on a central committee meeting a couple months ago. And, myself and someone else asked a candidate the exact same question with different words. But, with the follow up and follow on to, questions like that multiple people have asked, I think, and using their websites and their social media to answer, put that information in front of voters. I feel like most of us are, at least my age and maybe even a little bit older, we're in the social media. I'm on social media all the time. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm, just absorbing the information. The information is there. We just need to get people to use it in a way that makes sense and that people understand that voting, this really impacts your life more so than whatever's going on in pop culture. I'm seeing a lot about Nia Long. Like, really, we should really be focused on what is really going to affect our lives. And the information is available. People just need to use it.
Indeed, indeed. I certainly agree with you. There will always be people that state that they didn't hear, they didn't see, or because you weren't engaged. So I believe if we can do some good debates and push it through the social media over and over again, you may not have to have dozens of debates, but as long as we have some very detailed, good debates and getting the information out, but we're going to have to constantly, and that's going to take on some leadership as well. We have to push it out into the community to make sure that all levels are getting it, both the youth and our seniors who are getting acclimated to social media based on the pandemic, and that has forced us to get involved. So I do believe that we can bring it back a little bit on having too many debates, but we're going to have to continue to push it forward and keep these conversations like we're doing now. These are very important, and getting this information out.
I agree. What about you, Dr. Dula?
So,
did we lose you?
You missed the best part of my commentary.
uh-oh.
I was muted. No, I was saying I agree with both of you, because I think that you can oversaturate your audience with all these debates, because 9 times out of 10 you're saying the same things over and over.
Yes.
On the other side of the coin, if you make a strong case for your platform while you've been televised, as it goes out over the internet, I don't know, TikTok. I don't even use TikTok. I don't even know what it is really. LinkedIn, I've seen that, but I'm not on it either. I think I'm in that category where she said, and those older than me, and she looked right at me from cyberspace. I think limited debates are good. We don't need to be like Lincoln Douglas and have 7 debates. We don't have to gauge all of the things that we see are already. Let's say we don't have to gauge all of our opinions on a lot of different debates all over the place, because now we have the power of the internet, and we can do it that way. We can listen to platforms over the internet. We can do our research over the internet, and we really, really listen to the platforms, because every candidate has a platform. I stand for these 3 things. I stand against gun violence. I stand for education. I stand for the fight against trafficking. Or it might be, I'm happy with the immigration laws the way they are, or we want to see immigration laws change. I'm happy with abortion rights the way they are, or we need to strike down Roe versus Wade. I'm happy with the Supreme Court decisions. all those things come into play when we think about elections and the midterm elections, because the points of view from the candidate is going to be their strong point, based on how they feel, based on their political affiliation. And I still question the fact that we too many of us still vote along the party lines instead of voting for the issues at hand. I still question that. So when I listen to the debates, I really get to know the candidate, and I really get to know, are they talking about my point of view? If they're not expressing my point of view, then I know maybe that's not the person for me. And I don't care what party you are, tell you the truth. But I do believe that the best person should get the job, the most qualified, as you said, Mr. Bailey, the most experienced, and the person that speaks on my behalf, even though they don't know it. So those are some of the things that I look at, and I continue to tell other people to do. Vote your knowledge. There I go back to Dad Dula again. Vote your knowledge, and not on a person's characteristics. I've been out in the community, and people tell me all the time, well, oh yeah, that person came to my school 15 years ago. Oh, that's great. Oh, that person came to my church once. Oh, that's fine. What do they stand for? I don't know. And so, and so those are some of the seeds we need to plant. Those seeds are very important. We need to cultivate those seeds.
And if I could just interject really quickly, I would say one more thing we need to consider, and that is voting not just in your own best interest, but in the best interest of everyone. I mean, certain things are missing currently. You mentioned Dan Cox. There's literally no empathy in that whole group for anyone other than certain people. So I think it's also important to think about globally everyone, not just a particular demographic that focuses on fear, scaring people to the vote, to the polls. So that's my 2 cents.
It's that cold war philosophy. If you don't vote for me, everything's gonna blow up in a handbasket. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Whereas we as voters have a choice, and if we don't want that to happen, we really, really, really have to get out and vote. If you're not registered to vote, shame on you. You should be registered to vote by now. But get out, make it happen, so that you will be happy with your community. And when you talk to your county council person, or your county executive, or your governor, or your senator, whether it's state or federal senator, it's about the time that you let them know that your position is this. I like your position. I like the position you ran on your platform. And on the other side of the coin, if you don't see it, say I don't see it being happening now that you're in office. So as a person in any jurisdiction, any district, you have a right to speak up. I used to teach my government classes. You have a right to petition your government without retribution. And if you can't petition your government without retribution, then you should seriously consider who you're voting for. And that's very important. That's very important. We don't live in a dictator type state. Yep. We live in a democracy, a republic. Yep. A republic is we elect our representatives to represent us, and it's your own free will. Nobody's coercing you. So before I ask Mr. Bailey for his final comments, I'll say this. Today we have had some very key points. We have talked about issues. We have talked about the ills of sitting home and doing nothing. We have talked about learning who you're voting for and knowing the platform and getting out to vote. That's the most important thing during this midterm election, regardless where you live across the United States. So, Mr. Bailey, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We have to hold our elected officials accountable once we do our education process and getting them in the office. We have to hold them accountable. That's our job as well. So we don't just sit back and allow them to disappear in their office and pop up in another 2 or 4 years. It's up to us. You're right. Get off the couch, educate yourself, get involved, understand who we are putting in office to lead us, to make decisions for us. Just like in our home, the adults have to make the decisions for the children. But the children, and if you see that now, they're actually questioning some things that are going on. And we have to encourage that because they'll understand more. They want to be educated. So we have to, as residents, educate ourselves, do what we're supposed to do, elect the folks that we need in the office, and then continue to hold them accountable, staying in contact, calling their office, emailing them, and showing up to their events that they're having out here in the community for us as well. So absolutely, that I believe that we need to make sure that we continue to hold everyone accountable. That's holding ourselves accountable as well.
You're absolutely right, because the Z generation is watching. And the
Yes.
Z generation does not sit back and say, I'm going to do it the same way those that came before me did it. So we've got to help mold their young minds, because the Z generation, well, I just saw recently where they want to wear gym clothes to work every day. I mean, because their whole idea, their whole idea of norm is totally different. And so, I'm a child of the greatest generation. I gave birth to the X generation. The X gave it to the Y, and now the Y is giving it to the Z. I'm a little bit confused, but the common denominator is we have to teach them how to survive in our democracy. And no matter how you look at it, the way to survive is to be involved and to make sure you vote when the time comes. So I want to thank Ms. Williams for being with us today, because I tell you, this has been a very interesting and impacting conversation. So
Well,
Ms.
thank
Williams,
you for the invite.
Is there a way to contact you?
Yes. So my socials are posted. And also my email is llwilliams7000@gmail.com.
And I certainly thank you. And I hope you'll come back and be with us at another time. Mr. Bailey, how can you be contacted?
My email is contact@jobastrategies.com. And my social will be listed in the on the screen.
I don't have any of that stuff, so get me through WOW. The Socratic Speaker. They can go online and find the Socratic Speaker and contact me that way, or through WOW Radio, and I'll be glad to respond to anyone that has a question or would like to get back with me. I see they put up I guess that A stands for, I don't know. Let's talk politics. There it is. I want to thank our producers, Krista and Tara, for taking care of us. I want to thank Mr. Swint for joining us today. Mr. Swint, I look forward to talking to you more in depth offline, because I do see an avenue where we all can work together to help our youth to work together and get some things done, especially for that Z generation that is now growing up and is now the next generation that is going to lead America. And like Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois said, I always like to end with a quote from him. We light the path for future generations. My question is, what are we going to do with our leadership at this time? Are we going to lead the way, or are we going to sit and let them find their own way? So this has been Dr. James Dula. I certainly appreciate our guests. I appreciate our co-host, Mr. Bailey, who does a great job every week. I thank our producers and Crystal and Tara. If you need a production team, reach out to them. Crystal and Tara, they do an outstanding job. They're well known from coast to coast, and we're just very fortunate to have them working with our team here at Let's Talk Politics Live. So that's it for our show today. Thank you all very much for joining, and we will see you in 2 weeks from this time. Thank you, and have a great day.
All right.
Thanks.
Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. It's WOW Radio, so you know you're gonna hear it.